You're driving home late in Indiana. Red and blue lights hit your mirror. You pull over. The officer walks up slowly and says, "You seem nervous. Mind if I take a quick look inside the vehicle?" Most people freeze right there, because now the stop just changed. What do you say? Can they legally ask that? And if you say the wrong thing in the next 10 seconds, did you just hand them permission to search your entire car? That's exactly what we're breaking down today. The traffic stop tricks officers in Indiana use on citizens all the time, what those tactics are designed to do, and the exact phrases you can use to protect yourself without escalating the situation. Because during a traffic stop, people talk too much, they move too fast, they try to explain themselves, they try to sound innocent, and sometimes they accidentally give away rights they didn't even know they had. One wrong answer can turn a warning into a search, one careless sentence can become evidence, and one moment of frustration can completely change the tone of the encounter. They rely on you not knowing your rights. This channel makes sure you do. Subscribe and stay informed. And if you believe more people need to see this, share it and let me know your thoughts in the comments. So in this video, you'll learn what officers are often looking for during Indiana traffic stops, what the law may or may not require, what traps people fall into constantly, and the exact phrases you can use to protect yourself without escalating the situation. Because during a traffic stop, people talk too much, they move too fast, they try to explain themselves, they try to sound innocent, and sometimes they accidentally give away rights they didn't even know they had. One wrong answer can turn a warning into a search, one careless sentence can become evidence, and one moment of frustration can completely change the tone of the encounter. So in this video, you'll learn what officers are often looking for during Indiana traffic stops, what the law may or may not require, what traps people fall into constantly, and the exact phrases you can use to protect yourself without escalating the situation. Because during a traffic stop, people talk too much, they move too fast, they try to explain themselves, they try to sound innocent, and sometimes they accidentally give away rights they didn't even know they had. One wrong answer can turn a warning into a search, one careless sentence can become evidence, and one moment of frustration can completely change the tone of the encounter. Let's start with the first major tactic, the casual conversation trick. An officer walks up and says, "Where are you headed tonight?" Then maybe, "Where are you coming from? Why are you nervous? Who owns the car? Have you had anything to drink?" Sounds harmless, but understand this clearly. Officers are trained to observe behavior, inconsistencies, speech patterns, and admissions. A lot of roadside investigations begin as casual conversation, and many drivers talk themselves into trouble trying to appear cooperative. Here's the mistake. People think silence looks guilty, so they over-explain. "Actually, officer, I was only speeding because I'm nervous because I've had bad experiences with cops. My cousin borrowed the car earlier, but I don't know what he had in here." Now, the officer has more information, more angles, more suspicion. Instead, keep your responses short and calm. Provide required documents if state law requires it during the stop. Usually that means license, registration, and proof of insurance when lawfully requested. But beyond identifying yourself and complying with lawful commands, you generally do not have to answer investigative questions. A calm phrase sounds like this: "Officer, I prefer not to answer questions." Simple, respectful, non-aggressive. Why does that work? Because you are not lying, you are not arguing, you are not escalating. You are simply declining voluntary conversation. That matters. Now let's talk about the second big tactic, the consent search request. This is one of the oldest traffic stop strategies in the country. The officer says, "You don't mind me taking a quick look, right? If you've got nothing to hide, we'll be done fast." Just routine. Listen carefully. Consent changes everything. If you voluntarily consent to a search, you may give up major legal arguments later about whether the search was lawful. And many people don't even realize they consented because consent is often phrased casually. "Mind if I check the trunk? Go ahead and step out while I take a look." "Okay, if I search?" People panic and say, I guess? Sure, okay." That can be enough. Instead, if you do not want to consent, say it clearly and calmly. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." That sentence is powerful for a reason. Notice what it does not say. It does not insult the officer. It does not physically resist. It does not interfere. It simply makes your position clear. And here's another important line. I am not resisting, but I do not consent. Why does that wording matter? Because if officers proceed anyway, you are verbally preserving your objection while still remaining physically compliant. That distinction is extremely important. Never try to physically block a search on the roadside. Do not grab objects. Do not pull away. Do not slam doors. You fight legal issues later in court, not on the shoulder of the highway. Now here's another common Indiana traffic stop tactic: extending the stop. The officer already handled the speeding issue, but now they keep fishing. Sit tight for me, just waiting on another unit. Mind if I ask a few more questions? A lawful stop generally cannot be extended indefinitely without additional justification. But roadside encounters can become complicated very fast depending on the facts, observations, or alleged indicators officers claim to notice. This is where drivers often make another mistake. They never clarify whether they are free to leave, so the stop just drifts. 5 minutes becomes 20, 20 becomes 40. A calm question can matter here. Officer, am I free to go or am I being detained? That phrase matters because it forces legal clarity. If you are free to go, the encounter should end. If you are being detained, the officer is stating the stop is continuing. Either way, you gain important information. But tone matters. Don't say it aggressively. Don't say it like a challenge. Say it calmly and professionally. Now let's talk about the nervousness trap. Officers frequently mention nervous behavior in reports: shaking hands, heavy breathing, avoiding eye contact. But here's reality. A lot of innocent people are nervous during police encounters. Unfortunately, nervousness is often interpreted as suspicious behavior. So what do people make? They start making sudden movements trying to look normal, reaching into bags, turning around repeatedly, digging through the glove box too quickly. That can escalate danger immediately. Instead, keep your hands visible whenever possible. Tell the officer before reaching, "My registration is in the glove compartment. I'm going to reach slowly." That communication matters. Fast movements create uncertainty. Uncertainty creates tension. And tension during traffic stops is dangerous for everybody involved. Now let's cover another tactic people fall for constantly: the false sense of informality. Sometimes an officer sounds relaxed on purpose. "Hey man, just help me understand what's going on. I'm trying to help you out. Be honest with me and we can work this out." People hear that and think the conversation is unofficial. It's not. Anything you say can potentially become evidence. That's why one of the most important phrases in any serious stop is, "I exercise my right to remain silent. And if things escalate further, I want to speak to a lawyer." Why say it clearly? Because silence alone is not always enough legally in every situation. Clearly invoking your rights can matter. And again, tone matters. Calm, respectful, controlled. Not hostile, not sarcastic, not combative. Now let's talk about a mistake that gets people in trouble constantly: trying to win the argument on the roadside. People start debating law. "You can't stop me. That's unconstitutional. You're violating my rights." Maybe, maybe not. But the side of the road is usually not where legal disputes get resolved. Arguing emotionally often escalates the encounter without helping you legally. That does not mean surrendering your rights. It means asserting them intelligently. There's a difference. You can comply with lawful orders while still refusing consent and preserving your rights. That balance matters. And here's another warning: do not lie to officers. People think clever answers help. They usually don't. If you choose to speak, tell the truth. If you don't want to answer, respectfully decline. Those are safer options than getting caught in contradictions. Also, remember this: Indiana laws, federal rulings, and traffic stop rules can vary depending on the situation and the exact facts. Court decisions change. Legal outcomes depend heavily on details. So this video is educational information, not personal legal advice. But the general safety framework remains consistent. Stay calm, keep your hands visible, comply with lawful commands. Do not make sudden movements. Do not consent to searches if you do not want to. Do not argue on the roadside. Ask calmly, Am I free to go or am I being detained? And if necessary, I exercise my right to remain silent. I want to speak to a lawyer. Those phrases work because they are clear, respectful, and legally significant. They help reduce confusion, they help avoid accidental consent, and they help prevent people from talking themselves deeper into an investigation. Because most traffic stop problems don't begin with handcuffs, they begin with casual conversation. And in the next video, we're breaking down another major roadside tactic officers use during voluntary vehicle exits, and the one sentence many drivers forget to say before stepping out.